Welcome back once again, everybody. It is September 28th, 2018, 5:22 p.m., and you're looking at current temperatures of the U.S. We have a bit of a dip in the jet stream. As you can see, we're in 40s and 50s along the middle of the country, stretching all the way down to northern Texas. Some of these temperatures, pretty crazy, but we are in fall. This is what we are going to expect more and more as time goes on. Still pretty warm in the southeast and then mild in the northeast. I'm enjoying this very much, as I'm sure most of you in the northeast are as well. I'm looking outside now. I see blue skies. It's unbelievable. But let's talk about something a little more serious, and that is Hurricane Rosa. We do have action going on in the Atlantic as well, as Tropical Storm Kirk is still alive despite this giant shear wind event, which is basically what you're seeing here. All this stuff here is a shear wind that's coming down across the Caribbean and pushing all this moisture back like this. So a lot of this you see here is moisture from Kirk as it's trying to truck forward just under Puerto Rico now, or will be soon, and then we'll go under Dominican Republic, and we're going to see from there whether or not it can survive. We have subtropical storm Leslie now. No more remnants of Leslie. Leslie is now subtropical. It does have a path. It's expected to stay in the middle of the Atlantic for a while. We'll check that out as well. But let's look at Rosa real quick, because as of a couple hours ago, even overnight, Rosa became a Category 4 storm. We have already dropped back down to Category 3, 105 knots. So we're about in that 120 mile an hour sustained wind area, which is Category 3. We do have Category 2 gusts, or Category 4 gusts going on. But what we need to understand with Rosa is, as any of these storms, the longer they stay west, they stay in warm water. That's why we had those issues with Hawaii, with Norman, and oh boy, those names are slipping me right now. But you guys know what I'm talking about. Those storms that stayed west for a long time, they were staying in warm water, and they were allowed to continue to become strong hurricanes, strong cyclones, and then some of them broke apart, like Leslie. When it hit, not Leslie, oh my God, all these Pacific names are slipping me right now. The one that broke apart right before it hit Hawaii, just like a magic trick almost. It was kind of bizarre, if you ask me, but we could talk about that another time. But Rosa, so yes, Rosa's path is as follows. It does show it making a very dramatic northern hook, still with strong hurricane speeds through Sunday. And then as we get from Sunday into Monday, they're expecting the storm to begin to break up, because this is very cool water. You guys got to understand, even though we have very hot temperatures in Southern California, the water in the West Coast and the Pacific is very cold. It's always cold water there. So a lot of these storms that you see, they always tend to break up right at the Baja region, or some of the models even show it coming along this direction. But again, the same thing is more than likely going to happen. As it gets into these cooler waters, once it passes the Baja region of Mexico, it's going to break apart. It will absolutely be a rain event for Arizona and Southern California. So regardless whether or not this is a cyclone, when it hits or not, it's going to do some rain damage. I'm sure there's going to be flash flooding involved. As we all know, these areas are basically desert lands, not used to a lot of water, and when they get hit with water, things happen quickly. A lot of flash flooding. You can Google videos, flash flooding in desert areas. It's quite a sight to see. But we need to just wait and see what this storm is going to do. Now, I have a few charts pulled up here. This is a little bit of a cone of uncertainty about where they expect it to go. A lot of the models are tracking that this thing will hit Mexico first before it gets closer to Southern California and Arizona. Now, that is also my belief based on what I've been seeing on a lot of these charts. So let's get to an infrared loop here. I want to show you guys something. The reason this storm went from... It actually went to a Category 4 very quickly. It was at Category 1 and then went to Category 4, I believe, within 24 hours. But what you're looking at now is the past 24 hours coming up to current time, which is right now. You're going to notice this black donut begins to dissipate, and then that eye wall begins to glitch a little bit. And what we're dealing with here is an eye wall replacement cycle. Now, this can mean one of two things. This means that the storm is preparing to get stronger, or it's being left in a vulnerable position. So, once that eye wall breaks down, one of two things happens. If there's any sort of um, cooler water or wind shear, anything that will aid in not developing a hurricane or hurting a hurricane. These are the moments where that should happen, but if there's nothing to stop it, an eye wall replacement cycle often means that the storm will get stronger. So I don't want to confuse people, because even though this is going through an eye wall replacement cycle, it's still trekking north into cooler water. So we don't know if this eye wall is going to replace to what we're seeing at the beginning of these frames. Let's go back again. Right here is category 4, absolutely. And then you see it break down into category 3, and will more than likely get down to category 2. I don't see it getting much higher than a 3 at this point. Again, that is due to cool water. Once you get into this part of California, or not California, this part of the Pacific Ocean, for example, right up in this area, it's very cool water. So that's why these storms, like I said, when you click on it here, it's projected to come up in this area, and you can see it's hurricane, hurricane, hurricane. And then between Sunday and Monday, it picks up some speed, and it wants to just shoot right into the Baja as a tropical storm, which is what the S represents. Anywhere from 39 to 73 miles per hour, not quite a Category 1 storm. Now, let's hope that happens if this is going to be the path. Now, there still is a chance, of course, that this thing could stay out and possibly get pulled out in this direction, but more models than none are showing this thing staying very true to its tracks, and these are the tracks right now. Spaghetti plots show that this thing can go anywhere from about 3/4 up the Baja region through Mexico straight into Arizona, or it could hit the exact border of California and Arizona after hitting Mexico. And then we got this one model, the COTI model, which shows almost a landfall on Southern California itself. I can't say yes or no. I wish I could give you guys an answer, but that's just not what I do. I give you the data we have, and this is what we have right now. So chances are this is the path it's going to take. And there's also some info that backs that, because there's another storm behind this one, which will more than likely become named Sergio, which is the next name on the list. And I'll show you why. We're going to back up on Tropical Tidbits here. And we're going to show you, this is the European model, by the way. We'll start with the European. We'll go through all of them. We'll get it to the 27th, which is today, or today's the 28th, actually. Sorry about that. All right, so here we are right now, 977 pressure. This was the beginning of the day. Maybe we can move up 1 or 2 more steps. We'll go right here. So 965. So we're still at a pretty strong storm right now. This is borderline Category 3, Category 4. But you saw that eye wall replacement cycle. And as long as this thing is tracking north, that eye wall replacement cycle will more than likely not strengthen the storm. It'll keep it at bay as a Category 3, a strong Category 3, possibly go down to a 2. But regardless, even a Category 1 hitting this area of California or the Baja region or Arizona will be something that they do not, it just does not happen often. Let's just put it that way. In fact, there's only been 2 cyclones to hit Southern California since the 1900s. We could read here on a Wikipedia article, a California hurricane is a tropical cyclone that affects the state of California. Usually only the remnants of tropical cyclones affect California. Since 1900, only 2 tropical storms have hit California, one by direct landfall from offshore, another after making landfall in Mexico. So you can see that a lot of these storms, before they get to Southern California, they end up going through that region of the Baja, in Mexico. So it's rare for these storms to come out this far and then hook in to the state of California itself. The water is just not, it's just not warm enough to produce or sustain hurricanes once they reach up in this area. And again, that's why we saw these stronger hurricanes like Norman and those other names that are slipping my mind for some reason. They were staying very strong because they were staying in that warm water belt closer to the equator and made their way towards Hawaii. But now we have pressures coming down from the Pacific in this direction, which are forcing these storms to go up. And if you watch the European model, this would be Sergio after Rosa already makes impact with Mexico and or Arizona and California. We have Sergio, which pops up, which looks to become a very strong hurricane and then does pretty much the same thing. It gets kind of stuck here. You could see those high pressure lines keeping it forced this way. So Sergio has two ways to go. It could either, sorry guys, excuse me there. It could either slip down underneath and continue westward, which we don't want because that would put Hawaii at risk, or it's going to force it up into the same area as Rosa, which we also don't want. So one way or another, we're not going to like the outcome of this storm. That's the end of the data for the European model. The last 12 hours showed it actually coming up a little more shallow, more towards the middle of the Baja. We'll switch to, let's switch, wow. Got to stop being clicky here. Here's the GFS, which is often pretty dramatic. We'll back it up. You can see this thing drops down to 947. That was the Category 4 area. They're still showing that for tomorrow, so we could be dealing with a high Category 3 through tomorrow. And then you see how it drops into the 950s, 960s, and then 970. 988 according to the GFS when it makes landfall on Monday right by the Baja, and then it's going to move its way up into Southern California and Arizona. Will be a big rainmaker regardless, guys. You cannot take the fact that this thing breaks apart right here as a no storm. This is going to be a storm in Southern California and Arizona. It's going to bring a lot of water and a lot of unsuspecting situations that people are just not used to. And then the GFS also has Sergio becoming a very, very strong storm, basically following the same path. But you can see it almost gets hooked in pretty quickly. That was a very fast hook in right there. We see something almost like another system reach down and just push it right into the Baja there, and it moves a little quicker. Now, that could affect the wind speeds of this storm. Again, another big rainmaker. When you see those purple colors there, you know there's a lot of moisture involved with these storms. So, as of right now, I'd be more worried about Sergio in the near future than I would Rosa based on this data. But again, the data changes every day. We could see, again, Rosa going right through the Baja. More of an impact to Arizona than Southern California as far as the GFS goes. Let's look at CMC before we go to the FV version of the GFS. Now there's Rosa here, 990, always showing weaker storms than the rest of the models. 990, there's 1,000 right before it reaches the Baja region. So although there is a lot of people making videos about Rosa possibly destroying Southern California or Southern California prepare for a hurricane, I don't want to say not to prepare, but I also want to show you the facts and the data we have. It does not look like it will be a full-blown hurricane that is going to smash into Southern California. So the people that live in South California, I would prepare for a big rain event. Prepare as you wish to prepare. I don't like giving a lot of pointers on to how to spend your money. I don't know. It's just not something I'm comfortable doing. I mean, I could give you what I would do, but again, each person individually has a different living situation. If they have family or if they have people they need to move, everyone's situation is different. But we can clearly see here, according to the Canadians, that this storm is going to break up way before hitting the Baja region. But again, this is not down. I'm not trying to downplay this whatsoever. I'm just trying to explain that chances that this is going to be a hurricane at landfall or even striking California as a hurricane, I wouldn't really put too much bet on that. Okay, it could be a tropical storm, could be a tropical depression, but it's just this northern movement is only cold water. So the only thing it can do really is weaken. It's very rare for a storm to come up in this direction and get stronger as it gets into these cooler waters, as opposed to moving west closer to the equator where the warm water is. So I hope I explained that correctly. So you can see here, once again, by Sunday, we're still in hurricane force winds, And then Sunday into Monday, we should expect this storm to drop down to a tropical storm, hopefully. We're going to be covering this on a daily basis, as we always do. And then we got the 80% chance of formation. More than likely will form and then become Sergio, which is the next name in the list. Now, I think I covered everything there. Really quick, these are just some of the other aftershocks that are going on after that massive 7.5 they're calling. It was a 7.9. I saw it with my own eyes. It was definitely bigger than a 7.5. Strike this part of Indonesia and then cause a tsunami down in Palos City, also affecting other areas along this coast. A lot of different tremors going on, very big tremors. If you look at this, I have it set up from strongest to weakest. 6.1 was one of those aftershocks of 5.8. Another 5.8, 5.7, 5.7, all very strong and shallow earthquakes, all 10 kilometers deep. As I said, this thing doesn't really go below 10 kilometers. That's like the lowest it goes. The 6.1 was 18.1, so a little bit deeper than the initial 7.5. But still, that caused a tsunami, guys. We had a tsunami in Indonesia, and now we are looking at Rosa. Now, this is just a 120-hour chart of the mimic chart, how we could see Rosa forming, came right out of this area, and now these last couple frames, you see it makes that dramatic, sharp north turn right there. That's where it's going to start hooking north, and you can see this is the cooler water here. It's beginning to leak down, blocking its path to go west. So watch again. You can see the blue here comes down. It will not allow the storm to come this way, and it actually forces that other storm that's going to go underneath Hawaii to stay low and hopefully go around Hawaii this way. But again, I know I'm jumping around. This is what is forcing Rosa up into the Baja region. So all the different pressures are what control these storms. We always talk about this. Same deal in the Atlantic Ocean. So again, one more time, watch how this bleeds down and it almost forms a wall, forcing Rosa up in this direction. So that is why they believe rather than Rosa coming up straight and nicking or making landfall at California itself, it's going to go through the Baja first of Mexico and then affect areas of Arizona and California. So that's what we have to deal with now. It's set 105 knots. That's equivalent to 120 miles an hour. That's a Category 3 storm. So we have gone from Category 4 to 3 in the last couple hours. More than likely we'll go down to a 2, and it will remain at 2 until it gets a little bit closer to Mexico, and then we'll either see it drop or sustain its strength at that point. So that's what I got for you as far as Rosa goes right now. We're looking at a between Monday and Tuesday landfall, whether that be Mexico or if any of the time is delayed, it could be a little sooner, could be a little later. But regardless, the fact that we have a hurricane heading towards Southern California and or Arizona is definitely going to be a big deal. And then once it gets into the actual states, it's going to be a rain event for a lot of areas that don't usually get rain. There's parts of New Mexico that are dry as a bone that need rain, so this may help. But the initial part of it is not going to be fun at all, especially for those of us in Southern California and the southwest area of Arizona especially. So we still have a lot to look into with this storm. I will be all over it. As always, I will be all over Sergio, and I will keep you posted on what's going on with this psycho storm Leslie in the middle of the Atlantic just doing circles. Look at some of these spaghetti plots. It's just like, I've said this before, but it just looks like you're spinning spaghetti on a fork here. So they have no clue where this storm's going to go. This is basically them saying we have no idea where it's going to go or what it's going to do. So we're going to watch this one as well. But this loop here, this is some pretty crazy stuff, guys. That is like, if you want to label a perfect eye wall early in this frame, that is a perfect eye wall. That's about I'd say 50-mile diameter right there, and then it begins to break apart. That's the signs of an eye wall replacement cycle. And again, an eye wall replacement cycle, had this storm continued to stay in warm water and gone through this cycle, you could guarantee that since it already reached a 4, that this would have had the potential for a 5 if it's going through an eyewall replacement cycle as a Category 4 storm. But we've already seen it drop down to a 3 fairly quickly, so we just got to wait and see what happens, guys. So with that said, I think I've kept you here long enough. This is video number 2 for the day. We got a special one coming up later tonight via my amazing girlfriend Caroline. You can all thank her for that. She is just an info warrior. She just sends me stuff left and right. I couldn't make all the videos if I wanted to, but she finds some of the coolest stuff that I post on here. But there you have it right there. That storm looks like it's going to pass safely underneath Hawaii and then come up past the outer islands that stretch out to the west. Then we got Rosa here coming up to do its Bajas thing, and then we have Sergio forming a little bit south in those other areas, more parallel to like Cancun and those spots here. And we also really need to start watching the South Caribbean, guys, because that is going to blow up soon. That shear wind event that's affecting Kirk as we speak is going to end, and then it's going to be crunch time for the Caribbean, at least the South Caribbean, to say the least. Now, I believe that is it. Yes, it is. All right, guys. Thank you for listening again. I hope everyone's safe. Any info on Rosa or the tsunami that happened in Indonesia or the hurricanes as far as Kirk and Leslie, I will be back here to tell you about them. Thank you so much for listening. Hope everyone's having a great day. I'm going to go take some pictures. Ooh, speaking of pictures, check this out. I took this one today. This is also on Instagram. Caroline posted this for us on Instagram today. This thing decided to just chill on my railing. I believe it's a garden spider, if I'm not mistaken. It's a northeast spider. They call them corn spiders, I believe. Or if anyone in the comment section can tell me what this thing is, definitely interesting, and the web alone is just very cool. And I have another picture of a weird spider. I believe it's an orb spider. It almost looks like a devil that I'm going to post, and I want to show you guys and share with you and see what you think about it. But yep, that's it for now, guys. So we are watching this area: San Diego, Los Angeles, Phoenix, Arizona, Baja California. All these areas are under watch as of right now. And then we could be talking about Phoenix, and then even inland more, New Mexico. We just got to wait and see, guys. That's the excitement with weather, as you can say. All right, guys, I'll let you go. Have a wonderful day. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.